The warship hung silently above the purple clouds of Alara 7, its massive hull reflecting the faint glow of the distant sun. Inside, corridors hummed with a strange mixture of energy and tension. Humans were a rare sight here, and Captain Marcus Hayes felt the weight of every eye on him as he walked through the alien vessel. Marcus had spent years preparing for this assignment. Yet nothing had truly prepared him for the reality of life among the Drakari, a warrior race whose reputation for strict discipline was known across 3 sectors of the galaxy. They were tall, imposing, with limbs that looked like they were carved from iron and eyes that could pierce straight through a person's confidence. And now Marcus had to work closely with them, not just as an observer but as a participant. He stepped into the training hall, his boots echoing against the metal floor. At the center stood General Krivak, the towering figure he had come to respect and fear. The alien general's armor glinted under the hall's bright lights, intricate patterns etched into the dark metal. Around him, other officers waited silently, their postures rigid, eyes fixed on Marcus. Marcus swallowed and approached the general with a careful, measured pace. "Good morning, General Krivak," he said. His voice sounded small in the vast hall, but he spoke clearly. Krivak turned his massive head, fixing Marcus with a glare that could have crushed a smaller creature. "Human," he said, his voice low and growling. "Come closer. You did it wrong last night. Now I cannot even sit." Marcus froze, confusion and alarm surging at once. He remembered last night. He had been assisting with the calibration of Krivak's exosuit. The general had insisted he needed human insight on adjusting certain controls, though Marcus had never handled one before. He had tried to follow instructions, but the complexity of the suit had quickly overwhelmed him. I'm sorry, General," Marcus said, his hands lifting slightly in a gesture of peace. "I thought I was following your instructions." Krivak's massive shoulders tensed. "Thought?" he growled. "Thought does not repair the suit. I cannot sit. My body suffers because of your ignorance." Marcus's heart raced. Among the Drakari, causing discomfort to a superior was more than an insult. It was almost unforgivable. He had to act quickly, but he also knew that one wrong move could escalate the situation. He bowed slightly. "Please give me a chance to fix it, General. I will make it right." The general's eyes narrowed, but after a moment he gave a slow nod. "You have one chance, human. Fail again and your species will be remembered for incompetence, not courage." Marcus exhaled slowly and stepped back. He needed a plan. The exosuit was unlike any human technology he had encountered. It wasn't just mechanical. It was partly bio-integrated, responding directly to the wearer's movements and even their nerve signals. Every adjustment had to be precise or the discomfort would increase. As he examined the suit, Marcus noted the subtle dents, the slight misalignments, and the panels that refused to close properly. Last night, in his nervousness, he had over-tightened a joint and misaligned several hydraulic systems. Simple mistakes for a human, but catastrophic for a Drakari warrior. Lieutenant Zara, a young Drakari engineer, approached quietly. Marcus had noticed her watching him before. Unlike most of the officers, her expression carried curiosity rather than judgment. "You are ambitious," she said in careful galactic common. "Most humans would have run away by now." Marcus gave a small smile, though anxiety prickled at him. "I don't like leaving problems unsolved," he admitted. "Especially ones I caused." Zara tilted her head. "Follow me. You cannot fix it alone. Some of the inner mechanisms require knowledge only a Drakari engineer possesses." Marcus followed her through a side corridor that led to the engineering bay. The room was vast, filled with tools, diagnostic panels, and half-assembled exosuits. The hum of energy coursing through the walls made his skin tingle. Zara approached the damaged suit and gestured to a set of controls. "Start with the limb calibrations," she instructed. "The hydraulics are mismatched. Adjust slowly. One wrong pressure and you will hurt him further." Marcus nodded and carefully connected his interface device to the suit. Numbers and readouts appeared, alien symbols blending with familiar figures. He adjusted the limbs slowly, monitoring the feedback. Every movement had to be smooth. Every pressure had to be precise. Time seemed to stretch as he worked. Sweat gathered on his brow and his hands shook slightly, but he forced himself to stay focused. He thought about his training, his experiences with human engineering, and applied every lesson he had learned. Meanwhile, outside the bay, Krivak waited. The general's large frame sat uneasily in the half-repaired suit, every slight movement sending sharp jolts of discomfort through his body. Officers whispered among themselves, some shaking their heads in disbelief. "Human cannot succeed," one muttered. "It is impossible." Marcus felt their eyes on him, but he blocked them out. He had only one goal: restore the general's suit so that he could sit without pain. He had never faced a challenge like this, one that combined precision, speed, and the stakes of interspecies diplomacy. Hours passed, or perhaps only minutes. Time seemed distorted under pressure. Marcus made small adjustments, tested them, and then reversed them when they worsened the suit's alignment. Zara assisted quietly, handing him tools and offering advice in the calm, measured way only a Drakari could. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the exosuit's readouts stabilized. The panels aligned correctly, hydraulic pressure normalized, and the suit responded smoothly to minimal movement. Marcus disconnected his interface and stepped back, exhausted but relieved. Zara examined the suit and gave a small nod of approval. "It is ready. You may call the general." Marcus swallowed, his stomach twisting. He walked back to the main hall, every step echoing in the silence. Krivak's officers watched him like hawks, their expressions a mix of skepticism and curiosity. "General," Marcus said, bowing slightly, "the suit is repaired. You should be able to sit comfortably now." Krivak's massive eyes studied him for a long moment. Then with deliberate slowness he shifted in the suit. The hydraulic systems hummed, responding smoothly to his movements. He lowered himself into the chair and sat without a single sign of pain. The hall was silent. Even the officers seemed stunned. Then a low rumble emerged from Krivak's throat. A sound Marcus realized was the alien version of laughter. "Human, you may have done it wrong last night, but you corrected it. You are persistent. Perhaps there is value in your species yet." Relief flooded Marcus, though he kept his composure. "Thank you, General. I'm glad I could make it right." Krivak's gaze softened slightly, though it still carried the weight of authority. "You have learned one lesson tonight, human. Never underestimate the precision required by Drakari design. But also, do not fear attempting the impossible. That is a human strength." Marcus allowed himself a small smile. It was not victory, but it was respect, a rare gift from a being as formidable as Krivak. The story of human ingenuity and courage had already begun to earn attention among the officers. Whispers spread quietly, stories of how one human had faced a problem no Drakari could endure and succeeded. As Marcus left the hall, Zara caught up with him. "Not bad," she said, a faint smile on her face. "You have the mind of a strategist and the hands of a careful engineer. Perhaps humans are not so helpless after all." Marcus laughed softly, though tiredness weighed on him. "I just hope I survive the next challenge," he said. Zara tilted her head, her eyes sparkling with quiet amusement. "In this warship, there is always a next challenge." Marcus nodded, feeling both fear and excitement. Life aboard the Drakari warship would never be easy, but for the first time he understood that humans could succeed in ways no one expected. He had faced the impossible and survived. And perhaps in the vast reaches of space, that was exactly the kind of story the galaxy needed to hear. After the incident with the exosuit, Marcus thought he might finally catch a moment to breathe. But aboard the Drakari warship, calm moments were rare. Word had spread quickly among the crew about the human who had faced General Krivak's wrath and survived. Some whispered in admiration, others in disbelief. Most, however, were silently skeptical, waiting to see if Marcus's success had been mere luck. Marcus returned to the engineering bay with Lieutenant Zara, who had become an unlikely ally and guide in this alien world. The suit had been repaired, but Marcus knew this was only the beginning. If he wanted to gain true respect from the Drakari, he needed to understand their technology, culture, and expectations in a way no human had before. Zara led him to a large console, its holographic display flickering with symbols Marcus didn't fully understand. "You may have fixed the suit," she said carefully, "but understanding it is different. There are layers you cannot see at first glance. Each Drakari suit is connected to its wearer, to their nervous system, their reflexes, even their emotions. Misalign it, and you do not just make them uncomfortable, you interfere with their very control over the body." Marcus frowned, rubbing his temples. "So, what I did last night was worse than I thought?" Zara gave a small, almost amused shrug. "Worse in some ways, yes. But your success shows something important. You have patience, ingenuity, and the willingness to learn. That is rare among humans here. Most would give up before the second attempt. Marcus studied the console. The readouts displayed a tangled array of hydraulic lines, neural connectors, and biofeedback loops. To any human engineer, it was overwhelming. To a Drakari, it was simple and intuitive. Marcus realized that mastering this technology would require more than technical skill. It would demand understanding a way of thinking entirely different from his own. "I want to try again," he said quietly. "I need to know every detail of the suit. I can't afford another mistake." Zara's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "Very well, but this is not a training exercise. Krivak will not tolerate failure. This next attempt must be perfect." They began working together, examining every joint, every hydraulic valve, every neural interface. Marcus carefully adjusted the limb actuators, observing how each movement affected the suit's response. Small successes encouraged him. An arm moved smoothly, a leg responded without stiffness. But every minor error reminded him of the danger. One miscalculation could lead to discomfort or worse. Hours passed and Marcus noticed something unexpected. He was beginning to understand the logic of the suit. The Drakari designed everything for efficiency, for maximum performance under extreme conditions. Every joint, every sensor, every wire had a purpose. Marcus's human creativity, combined with Zara's insider knowledge, allowed them to find solutions that even seasoned Drakari engineers might overlook. Meanwhile, the general remained a looming presence in the background. Krivak had not spoken to Marcus since the morning incident, but Marcus could feel the alien's watchful gaze in every hall, every corridor. He knew that the general's approval was earned, not given. During a short break, Marcus and Zara sat in the quiet of the engineering bay. The air hummed with residual energy, and the faint scent of metal and lubricants filled the space. "You know," Zara said softly, "humans are strange. You do not have the instinctual understanding of the technology, but you compensate with creativity and persistence. It is impressive." Marcus smiled faintly, though exhaustion weighed heavily on him. "I guess we humans survive by thinking differently. We adapt even when the rules seem impossible." Zara nodded. "Exactly. And if you continue this, you may gain more than respect. You could teach the Drakari something about their own methods, something unexpected." As they worked, Marcus discovered a subtle flaw in the design, one that had likely caused the discomfort Krivak experienced. A series of hydraulic valves had been slightly misaligned, causing uneven pressure across the suit. The neural interfaces were functioning correctly, but the mechanical imbalance was enough to make even a general writhe in pain. "This is it," Marcus said quietly. "I see the problem. If we fix these valves and adjust the pressure distribution, the suit will function perfectly. No discomfort, no risk." Zara examined his calculations, her eyes narrowing in concentration. "Yes, that could work. But it is delicate. One small error and the balance will be off again." Marcus nodded. "I'll be careful. I've learned my lesson." They worked methodically, testing each adjustment, observing the suit's response. Marcus noticed how the technology seemed almost alive, how the suit anticipated movements, how small changes could ripple through the system in unexpected ways. It was unlike anything he had ever seen, and yet he felt a growing connection to it. For the first time, he felt that humans and Drakari technology might not be as incompatible as everyone believed. Later, as they were finishing the adjustments, an alarm sounded. A fleet of unidentified ships had been detected approaching the warship. The Drakari scrambled to respond, activating shields and battle protocols. Marcus's heart pounded. He had been focused on the exosuit, but now real danger threatened the ship, and he was expected to act alongside beings far stronger, faster, and more experienced than himself. Krivak appeared in the control room, towering and imposing. "Human," he growled, "you will not fail now. This is a test of skill, courage, and strategy. If you can perform under pressure, then perhaps your species deserves a place among allies." Marcus swallowed and nodded. "I'll do my best, General." The battle was swift and intense. Marcus observed the alien soldiers moving with precise coordination, their suits allowing them to strike with incredible force and speed. The enemy ships fired energy blasts, which the Drakari dodged and deflected with a combination of agility and advanced shielding technology. Marcus realized that his work with the exosuit had prepared him in ways he had not anticipated. Understanding the mechanics of their suits gave him insight into their capabilities and limitations. Using his knowledge, Marcus helped coordinate the human support crew, suggesting strategies to optimize shield alignment and energy distribution. His ideas, though unconventional, worked. The Drakari officers exchanged surprised glances, noting that the humans' approach was effective. Slowly, the tide of the skirmish shifted in favor of the warship. After the battle ended, the enemy ships retreated, leaving the Drakari vessel intact. Marcus exhaled, exhausted but exhilarated. Krivak approached him, towering as always, but with a faint glimmer of approval in his eyes. "You did not cause failure," Krivak said, his voice lower, almost calm. "You adapted. You acted when it was necessary. That is unusual for a human. Perhaps your species has value after all." Marcus felt a surge of relief and pride. It was the first time he had received direct praise from the general. It was not just for fixing the exosuit, it was for his ingenuity, courage, and ability to act under pressure. Zara approached and smiled. "You see, human? You are learning." The Drakari respect skill, persistence, and cleverness, not just strength. Marcus nodded. "I still have a lot to learn," he admitted. "But I think maybe humans can survive here and even thrive." Krivak's gaze swept the room, lingering on Marcus. "Do not become complacent. There will be more challenges, more tests, but you have passed the first one." Marcus allowed himself a small smile. "I will be ready." As the crew returned to their routines, Marcus reflected on the day's events. He had faced the wrath of a general, repaired a complex alien exosuit, and survived a sudden space battle. He realized that being human meant more than strength or advanced technology. It meant creativity, resilience, and the ability to think differently. Traits that even the most powerful alien warriors could not always predict. Zara gave him a knowing look. "Tomorrow there will be new challenges," she said. "But remember this, you succeeded because you did not try to be like them. You succeeded because you were human." Marcus nodded, understanding the truth in her words. In this vast galaxy, humans were not the strongest, the fastest, or the most advanced, but perhaps they were the most unexpected. And sometimes that was enough. He returned to his quarters that evening, weary but determined. The stars outside the window seemed brighter, the galaxy larger, filled with challenges and opportunities. Marcus knew that he had survived not because he had done things perfectly, but because he had been willing to learn, adapt, and face the impossible. And for the first time, he felt a spark of confidence that humans, no matter how small or underestimated, could make a difference in a universe dominated by formidable alien species. Tomorrow would bring more tests, more pressures, and more unknown dangers. But Marcus Hayes was ready, not because he was the strongest or the fastest or the most advanced, but because he was human. And being human meant finding a way when no one else could. The next day, the warship seemed almost alive with anticipation. Word of Marcus's performance had spread throughout the vessel, and every officer, soldier, and engineer watched him closely. Some were curious, others doubtful, but all were aware of the unusual human who had earned a fraction of General Krivak's grudging respect. Marcus himself was awake before dawn, reviewing the exosuit schematics and notes he had made. Today was different. The general had summoned him for a full demonstration. A test not just of repairing the suit, but of fully mastering it under observation. Failure this time would not be tolerated. Zara arrived quietly, her expression serious. "This is no ordinary repair," she said. "Krivak wants you to understand every function of the suit, its combat systems, its neural feedback, and its structural limits. You will operate it as if you were him. One mistake, and it will be noticed." Marcus nodded. "I understand. I won't fail." The training hall was enormous, with a high ceiling and reinforced flooring to withstand even the heaviest of impacts. At the center, the exosuit awaited. It glimmered under the artificial lights, black metal with engraved patterns and wires that pulsed faintly with energy. Marcus felt a mixture of fear and excitement. This was no longer a simple repair. This was the test of everything he had learned. Krivak entered, his massive presence filling the room. He moved with deliberate strength. The exosuit fitted perfectly for him. Marcus noticed how the general's every movement seemed natural, precise, and controlled. He realized that today he was not just repairing technology, he was stepping into a world where power, strategy, and discipline were combined in a single, formidable being. "Human," Krivak's voice rumbled low and commanding. "Today you will demonstrate understanding. Not just repair. Operation, control, efficiency. If you fail, the consequences will reflect on your species. Marcus swallowed, steadying himself. I am ready, General. Zara guided him as he stepped into the human-adapted version of the exosuit. It was slightly smaller, designed to accommodate Marcus's build while maintaining full functionality. He felt the familiar hum of energy flowing through the suit as he connected to the neural interface. Unlike last time, he was careful, observing every feedback signal, testing minor movements, adjusting pressures, and synchronizing his actions with the suit's responses. Krivak watched silently, his eyes narrow, his expression unreadable. Officers leaned forward, sensing the tension. This was a rare moment. The human would attempt to perform at the level of the legendary general. Marcus began with basic movements, walking, turning, bending. Each movement was met with immediate feedback from the suit. He felt the strain on the joints, the pressure on the limbs, and the subtle resistance in the neural link. He adjusted his posture, modified the pressure levels, and slowly synchronized with the suit's systems. Hours passed as Marcus worked, testing combat maneuvers, lifting heavy weights, and practicing rapid movements. Every adjustment had to be precise. Any mistake could throw the suit off balance or even cause physical discomfort. His muscles ached, his mind strained, but he focused on every detail, learning not just how the suit moved, but why it moved that way. Finally, Krivak gave a low growl, signaling Marcus to attempt a full demonstration.
Show me, he commanded.
Movement, agility, combat simulation. If you can perform as I do, then perhaps there is merit in your species. Marcus's heart raced. He initiated the combat protocols and the suit hummed in response. Targets appeared across the hall, moving unpredictably, simulating enemy attacks. Marcus dodged, struck, and blocked, using the exosuit's capabilities to their fullest. Each strike was precise, each maneuver calculated, and each response measured. The alien officers watched in silence, their skepticism slowly replaced by astonishment. For the first time, Marcus felt the full potential of human ingenuity combined with alien technology. He realized that his advantage was not raw strength or speed, but adaptability. Where the Drakari relied on instinct and training, Marcus could think creatively, predicting outcomes and adjusting in ways the aliens could not anticipate. Krivak's eyes narrowed as he observed. The general's massive body remained still, but Marcus could sense his evaluation. Every movement Marcus made was being judged, every decision measured against the standards of the Drakari elite. Suddenly, a simulated structural failure occurred, a minor overload in one of the suit's hydraulic systems. Marcus noticed it instantly and reacted, redirecting energy, adjusting pressure, and preventing the system from failing completely. The officers gasped. Even the general raised a massive brow. You anticipate, Krivak said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. You do not merely react, you plan, you adapt. This is human. Marcus continued, pushing the suit to its limits while maintaining complete control. The combat simulation ended, targets neutralized, and the suit performed flawlessly under his command. He disconnected from the neural interface, breathing heavily but smiling inside. He had done it. He had matched in some ways the precision and skill of one of the galaxy's most formidable warriors. Krivak stepped forward, his towering presence imposing. Human, he said, his voice calm but commanding. You have exceeded expectations. You do not move as a Drakari, yet you perform with their efficiency and insight. That is unusual. Perhaps humans have qualities worth studying. The hall was silent, the officers staring at Marcus in amazement. Whispers of admiration spread quietly. A human had not only repaired the exosuit, but had mastered it under extreme observation. Marcus felt a surge of pride tempered by exhaustion. He had faced doubt, fear, and immense pressure, and emerged victorious. Zara approached, her eyes bright with quiet approval. You see, she said softly, your persistence, your creativity, your willingness to learn, it is what sets humans apart. Even here, among the strongest, most disciplined species, you have found a way to succeed. Marcus nodded. I've learned that strength alone isn't enough. Understanding, observation, and adaptation, that's what makes a difference. Krivak's gaze swept over the officers. Let this be a lesson, he said. Even the smallest, least expected species can accomplish great things when determination and intellect are combined. Humans may be underestimated, but they should never be ignored. The officers murmured among themselves, a mixture of surprise and grudging respect filling the room. Marcus realized that this moment was more than personal achievement. It was a turning point. Humans, long seen as fragile or inexperienced, had proven they could rise to challenges and succeed where others might fail. Krivak's massive hand rested on Marcus's shoulder, a rare gesture of acknowledgement. "You have learned well, human," he said. "Do not forget this lesson. The galaxy is vast and dangerous, but those who adapt, endure." Marcus felt a mixture of relief and pride. He had faced fear, uncertainty, and the unknown, and he had prevailed. The exosuit was more than technology. It was a test of intellect, courage, and human creativity. By mastering it, he had earned respect not just from the general, but from the entire alien crew. As the day ended, Marcus and Zara returned to the engineering bay to review the suit. Marcus knew there were still details to learn, refinements to make, but for the first time he felt confident. He understood the value of patience, observation, and ingenuity in a world that seemed alien and overwhelming. Zara smiled faintly. "Tomorrow there will be new challenges," she said. "But you have proven yourself. You are no longer just a human observer. You are a participant, an equal in ways that matter." Marcus nodded, feeling the truth in her words. He had entered this warship as an outsider, unsure of his place, afraid of making mistakes. Now he had shown that humans could not only survive among powerful aliens, they could excel, adapt, and earn respect through determination and cleverness. As he looked out over the purple clouds of Alara 7, Marcus realized that being human was not a weakness. It was a strength, hidden in creativity, resilience, and the refusal to surrender. And in a galaxy filled with unimaginable challenges, that strength would be tested again and again. But Marcus Hayes was ready, not because he was the strongest, the fastest, or the most experienced, but because he was human, and humans had a way of finding solutions when none seemed possible. For the first time, he felt truly at home among the stars, not as a visitor, but as a force capable of making a difference, and that realization, he knew, was worth more than any victory, any praise, or any recognition. It was the beginning of something far greater, proof that humanity could stand among the galaxy's greatest, unshakable and unpredictable, capable of shaping the future in ways no one had anticipated. The morning aboard the warship was unusually calm, a rare moment of quiet after the intensity of the previous day. Marcus Hayes awoke early, as was his habit, reviewing the schematics of the exosuit one last time. Today was not a training exercise nor a test. Today he would see the results of his efforts, the true recognition of what he, a single human, had accomplished among one of the galaxy's most formidable species. Word had already spread. The officers and soldiers moved with a subtle excitement, whispers circulating that Marcus was no ordinary human. He had not only survived the wrath of General Krivak, but had mastered the general's exosuit, proving that human creativity, patience, and persistence could rival even the most disciplined alien warriors. Zara met him in the engineering bay, a quiet smile on her face. "You've earned this, human," she said. "Today the general will acknowledge what you've done. The officers are ready to see the human who adapts where others fail." Marcus nodded, his heart racing. Despite his previous successes, he knew the importance of this moment. The Drakari valued strength, precision, and respect for hierarchy, but they also respected results. If he succeeded here, humans would gain more than personal recognition. They would gain trust, and perhaps even allies in a galaxy that often underestimated them. Krivak summoned Marcus to the main hall, the center of the warship. The hall was enormous, its walls lined with officers and soldiers standing at attention. The exosuit stood in the center, gleaming under the lights, now fully functional and perfectly balanced. Marcus's own version of the suit adapted for human use was nearby, ready for demonstration. "Human." Krivak's deep voice echoed through the hall. "Today you will show not only skill but understanding. You will demonstrate why humans, though small and limited in strength, may have qualities valuable to the Drakari." Marcus stepped forward, feeling the weight of hundreds of alien eyes upon him. He approached the suit, connecting to the neural interface with care. Immediately he felt the familiar hum, the flow of energy, and the subtle feedback from the suit. This time he moved deliberately, aware of every joint, every hydraulic response, and every neural signal. Zara observed quietly, ready to assist if needed, though Marcus knew he had come far enough to stand alone. He began with basic movements, walking, turning, crouching. The suit responded perfectly, its systems harmonizing with his own motions. He tested lifting weights, jumping, and running across the hall. Each movement was smooth, precise, and fluid, proof of the careful adjustments he had made and the understanding he had developed. Krivak watched silently, his towering form still and imposing, but Marcus sensed a shift in the general's expression. There was curiosity now, even a faint trace of approval. The officers murmured among themselves, clearly impressed by the human's command of alien technology. The next phase was combat simulation. Targets appeared throughout the hall, moving unpredictably to simulate an enemy attack. Marcus dodged, struck, and blocked with skill and precision, each movement carefully coordinated with the exosuit's systems. He felt the flow of energy, the synchronization of mechanics and human instinct working together. Suddenly, an unexpected challenge arose, a simulated structural failure in one of the hydraulic lines. Marcus reacted immediately, redirecting energy, adjusting pressure, and preventing the system from failing. The officers gasped. Even Krivak's massive frame shifted slightly in acknowledgement. "You anticipate," Krivak muttered under his breath. "You do not merely react. You plan, adapt, improvise. This is human." Marcus continued the simulation, testing every capability of the suit. He performed maneuvers the Drakari would not anticipate, using creative problem-solving to overcome the challenges presented by the simulation. He could feel the respect of the audience growing, the shift from skepticism to admiration almost tangible. Finally, the simulation ended. Marcus disconnected from the neural interface, breathing heavily but feeling exhilarated. The exosuit had responded flawlessly under his command, every system functioning perfectly. He had not just repaired it, he had mastered it. Krivak approached, his massive footsteps echoing through the hall. Marcus stood tall, knowing this moment was decisive. "Human," Krivak said, his voice calm but filled with authority. "You have demonstrated skill, intelligence, and courage. You have mastered technology designed for my kind, under observation and under pressure. That is no small feat." Marcus bowed slightly. "Thank you, General. I could not have done it without guidance." Krivak's gaze swept across the hall, addressing the assembled officers and soldiers. "Let it be known," he said, "that even the smallest and least expected species can achieve greatness when determination, creativity, and courage are applied. Humans may have qualities we have underestimated. They may have value beyond what we imagined." The officers murmured, some nodding in agreement, others simply observing in awe. Marcus realized that this acknowledgement was more than personal. It was a recognition of humanity's potential in the wider galaxy. Zara stepped forward, smiling. "You have done what few expected, human," she said. "You have proven that persistence, adaptability, and intelligence can surpass raw strength. You have shown the Drakari what humans can do." Marcus felt a warm sense of accomplishment. For the first time, he truly understood that being human was not a weakness in a galaxy dominated by towering, powerful species. It was a strength, a unique combination of creativity, resilience, and the ability to adapt to impossible situations. Krivak placed a massive hand on Marcus's shoulder, a rare gesture of acknowledgement and respect. "Remember this, human," he said. "The galaxy is vast and filled with dangers. Strength alone does not ensure survival. Understanding, observation, and adaptation, these are the tools of those who endure. You have learned this well." Marcus nodded. "I will not forget, General, and I will continue to learn." As the ceremony concluded, Marcus was approached by several officers, curious and respectful. They asked questions about his methods, the human approach to problem-solving, and how he had managed to synchronize with the alien exosuit so effectively. Marcus explained carefully, sharing insights into human reasoning, creativity, and persistence. For the first time, he felt that humans were not outsiders in this galaxy. They were participants capable of earning respect, contributing meaningfully, and shaping outcomes in ways that even the most powerful species could not predict. Later, in the quiet of the engineering bay, Marcus reflected on the journey. From the moment he had first misaligned the exosuit, through the long hours of repair and study, to the final demonstration, he had faced doubt, fear, and immense pressure, yet he had persevered. He had proven that human ingenuity and determination could succeed where others might fail. Zara stood beside him. "You see, human," she said, "you have earned more than recognition. You have earned trust, and you have shown that humans can rise to challenges no one expects. That is why you are valuable." Marcus nodded, feeling a deep sense of pride. "I've learned that being human is not about competing with strength or speed. It's about using your mind, your creativity, and your persistence to solve problems no one else can." Zara smiled. "Exactly. And in this galaxy, those qualities are rare and precious." The general's words echoed in Marcus's mind as he looked out at the stars beyond the ship's hull. Strength alone does not ensure survival. Understanding, observation, and adaptation, these are the tools of those who endure. He realized that this principle applied not only to the Drakari but to humans as well. The galaxy was vast and unpredictable, but humans had a unique capacity to navigate the impossible, to endure challenges that others could not, and to find solutions in the most unlikely places. As he prepared for the next mission, Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. He knew there would be more tests, more challenges, and more opportunities to prove that humans could stand among the stars. But he also knew that he was no longer just a visitor or a minor player. He was a human, resilient, creative, and capable of extraordinary things. Kryvak approached one final time, his massive form casting a shadow over Marcus. "Remember this day, human," the general said. "You have shown what your kind can achieve. Do not forget it. The galaxy may be full of dangers, but humans can endure, adapt, and triumph." Marcus nodded solemnly. "I will remember, General, and I will continue to prove it." As the day ended, the officers and soldiers left the hall, still murmuring about the human who had mastered a Drakari exosuit, the human who had earned the respect of a general feared across the galaxy. Marcus remained for a moment looking at the suit, reflecting on the journey that had brought him here. It had begun with a mistake, a simple misalignment that could have ended in disaster. Yet through patience, learning, and determination, he had turned that mistake into an opportunity. He had shown that humans, though underestimated, could achieve greatness not through brute force, but through intelligence, creativity, and persistence. And in that moment, Marcus Hayes understood something profound. Being human was not a limitation. It was a strength, a way of surviving, adapting, and thriving even in the most alien and challenging environments. He left the hall with a sense of quiet pride, ready for whatever the galaxy might throw at him next. For Marcus knew that humans, in their own unique way, could face the impossible and emerge victorious.